Hey!
Hola!
Welcome. Thank you guys for joining us.
My friends, you're here. You're back with us at Beyond the Basement, the complete Attack on Titan podcast. Ooh, nice. I even kind of said it fast. You still got it with me. I'm one of your hosts. They call me Eric. This young woman over here,
I'm Rachel.
That's what they call you.
They call me the blue shirt. Peter is my name. Welcome to the podcast.
Blue shirt. Kind of like with Among Us. Like you can't be bothered to say everybody's name.
Like, oh yeah, blue. He's sus.
You just, you say their shirt colors.
Speaking of Among Us, thanks for joining us guys on Friday, the game night. That was way too much fun.
Yeah, seriously. If you weren't aware, we are been doing all your base art belong to us. We've been doing last couple of weeks. Been doing game night on Friday nights. I don't know if we're gonna do it this Friday. We might swap it to Saturday. We have a previous obligation that is gonna be happening this Friday. But generally speaking, Friday nights about 8:00 West Coast time. We're doing game night, but we're doing game night like with everybody. So if you want to come play with us, please do. We did Among Us last week. We're gonna do some Age of Empires 2.
Maybe I'll suck less at that game.
AoE, I mean, it's a little harder, but I think you might.
I could not figure out how to kill anyone in Among Us.
Listen, it's difficult. I tried to kill Pete like 4 times.
I wanted to kill you a couple times. I had a perfect opportunity, and I was like, why won't he die?
What's the button?
Yes. May the Floch be with you guys as well.
May the Floch be with you. All right, so yeah, anyway, join us for game nights. I forgot to say this already, but we are on episode 72, also known as season 4, episode 13. Okay, and
Children of the Forest.
Yeah, Children of the Forest. So that means, in all likelihood, we've only got 3 episodes left. And so I'm getting anxious. I'm not kidding. Okay, excuse me. I'm actually feeling anxious. When this episode aired, I was like, how much are you going to tell us? And how much are you going to drag this out, bro? Like, I want to freaking know. Anyway.
I'm pretty sure the last 3 episodes are all going to be fighting and explosions and people dying, and it's just going to be sad and awesome.
There will be more tears, that's for sure.
What do you get when you want to get sponsored and you plant pod kernels?
I don't know.
Pod corn?
Today's episode of Beyond the Basement Podcast is sponsored by podcorn.com.
I could really go for some podcorn right now.
Friends, lend me your ears. Podcorn is an amazing sponsorship opportunity that connects podcasters with all sorts of spectacular sponsors. If you're like us and just started a podcast, you might be just as lost as we were, trying to figure out the best ways to find sponsors who want to sponsor new shows.
It can be awfully hard to do.
But once we discovered podcorn.com, it was all buttery smooth like buttery corn on the cob on the 4th of July. They make it so easy that even a couple of corny dad jokers like us can figure it out. Podcorn is really shucking the competition by eliminating the middleman and by doing all the hard work of bringing together up-and-coming podcasters with great sponsors. Once you sign up, you can scroll through a whole list of companies that want to get their product out to an audience like yours or ours. Find a sponsor you like and select from options like host-read ads, interview segments, topical discussions, and ridiculous over-the-top pun-filled ads and more. Then shoot your shot and begin to collaborate with the company on an ad that fits your style. Podcorn's mission is to give podcasters transparency, creative freedom, and full control of how and when to monetize. Now, I don't want to sound like a stalker here, but we will be following Podcorn very, very closely. True salute to Podcorn for sponsoring this episode and joining the squad. And you can explore sponsorship opportunities and start monetizing your podcast by signing up here at podcorn.com/podcasters.
Okay, so let's do a quick recap of the episode for those of you who are listening in the audio. So this is the one that begins in Connie's hometown. We finally, season 4, when did this happen? Season 2?
I don't even remember.
When did Connie's village get raided like it was? Season 2, right?
Yeah.
Pretty sure. So here we are. Yeah. Basically 2 full seasons later, a lot of episodes later, okay, and we're finally seeing
we found out
what actually happened. And I just want to go on record. I'm getting way off topic on the recap, but I want to go on record saying that if you go back and listen to our podcast, we were literally saying it was a gas or a liquid that they ingested that enabled him to turn them into pure titans, like during season 1. We knew nothing.
We began to break down every possible strategy for how you could turn that many Titans. We examined the evidence. We had the intrigue. We figured it out. Thank you for those of us who have been along with us the ride. Those of you who have been along with us for the ride for that long.
Amen.
Appreciate the OGers.
You guys rock. Anyway, so yeah, this episode begins with the scene there, and it's actually Zeke explaining how he turns people into Titans, and so, there's obviously a reason why he's giving us this information now. So he's explaining this to Levi, and Levi's basically like doing his typical thing between the two of them. He's like, I don't trust you. And he's like, where's Eren? I want to begin this test. And another soldier runs up to Levi and tells him something in his ear, which we find out later is he's, of course, telling him that Eren's escaped and there's been this, coup
Premier
essentially.
Zachary's dead.
Premier Zachary's dead. All the events of the last several episodes. Okay, so then we join the Braus family and Mia and Ben, Falco and Gabi, at the restaurant, and they're about to meet the Marleyan who works there, about to meet Nicolo. Like I said, they bring all the kids and stuff into the house. And around the same time, after they've begun eating, the scouts also show up and like, hey, we want to talk to you, Nicolo, about the, Anya Capone's there. And he's like, hey, it's about our detainment. Maybe you can help. We get this quick scene where Nicolo tries to stop some of the scouts from drinking the wine and kind of reverts to his weird, like, you spawn of the devil routine. And they're like, why are you doing this right now? And then what ends up happening is... Falco feigns being sick when they see Nicolo, and they're like, oh, that was our chance. And they go to Nicolo in the cellar, and this is where it just gets absolutely nuts. They spill the beans to Nicolo, and he isn't happy. He's not, oh, yeah, I'll help you kids. He's pissed because they figure he does the math in his head and realizes that Gabi's the one who killed Sasha, and he really likes Sasha. So he captures both of them, walks into the restaurant and with the rest where the rest of the Braus family is. Now Hange and some of the other soldiers and stuff have gathered, and there's this whole scene that kind of plays out there with him. He's got the knife to Falco, and they have this exchange with Gabi. Anyway, what ends up happening is Papa Braus, dude, comes in clutch, takes the knife, and gives the speech that we all needed, which is like, yo, we got to stop the killing somewhere, shoulder the sins of the past, and the whole 9 yards. So Kaya then comes in, after the situation's kind of like cooled off at the very last second. Young Kaya, who's now pissed, comes in with the knife. Mikasa stops her, and this whole time, of course, Gabi is just getting like...
mind blown.
Yeah, completely mind blown. All right, so then we pop back into the forest, and we kind of hear the recap of the last couple episodes. The soldiers are talking to Levi, and Levi's like, dang, we've risked so much. I fought so many times over and over to protect Eren, and for what? Like, what is this whole thing even turning into? He finds out, about Pixis's plans and the whole 9 yards. And then we get back to the restaurant. We find out not only was this wine brought over originally, but Yelena, of course, she's behind everything. She's behind this wine and feeding it to the high-ranking officers, and they think it has Zeke's spinal fluid in it. And, of course, that's the magic ingredient that we believe turns people into freaking Titans. Okay, so... this episode ends in the most kind of bizarre way. Gabi is like shook. She's like, don't you want to kill me? And he's like, no, we don't want to kill you. We don't want to kill anybody. And guess who walks in?
The devil himself.
The devil himself is Eren. And he walks in and is like, hey, I want to talk.
He holds up his hand. It's
bleeding. His bloody hand.
It's basically like a loaded gun.
He's like, I'll kill us all, but I want to talk with you.
Yeah, it's a threat. We all know it's a threat. And then so that happens, and then we kind of get this cut between, or we get this scene where the rest of the Jeagerists have broken in. They found out where the scouts and stuff were going to be, and they're now taking Hange and all them and saying, you're going to take us to Zeke. And Floch, he knows. Not only is he like a horrible guy now and is like a military commander or whatever, he's now like telling Hange what to do and how much she sucks and like, you're gonna take us to Zeke or I'll freaking kill you. And yeah, anyway, we'll get into it. So the last scene is the Armin, recognizing that Floch is there, and he's like, oh, well, I guess we're here to talk. And then that's it. I want to talk. Eren's bloody hand at the table. That's what they leave us with. Cliffhanger of all cliffhangers, if you ask me.
Poor Gabi, she looks like she's about ready to just lose her absolute mind. She's like shaking.
Dude, I go back and forth with her. You guys, if you've been listening to this podcast, if you know, I literally go back and forth with her.
She
all the time.
reminds me of Eren when he was young. She's just like wants to kill everybody.
But like Eren didn't like kill people in cold blood and wasn't like a vicious racist. So I don't know. You know?
But if he had been raised in a different environment and he had that same amount of passion, like what would he have been like? Maybe he would have been a lot like her.
Maybe.
Possibly. You want to hope for the best, but it's true. Nurture versus nature. There's a lot to do with nature there. Okay, so let's jump into the first scene. There's a lot to talk about here. So the first scene is Ragako.
Nickelodeon.
I just can't say it right. So it's Connie's hometown, but this is like the first in a while where we've gone back this far in time. So this is like all the way back to season 2. This would have been after the walls fell, but after Eren had plugged the wall with the boulder. So it's season 2. So we see the gas kind of flowing in, and as soon as I saw it, I freaked out. In fact, go watch the reaction video. It'll be up on YouTube. Whenever this goes live, the reaction video should also be live. But I like lost my crap because I was like, we were right. Yeah.
I was like,
we were freaking right.
So what's interesting to us is we thought that Zeke was out here kind of like doing his own
solo
thing himself. And
maybe with
then
Piek,
we found out later on it was Zeke and it was Piek. And now we find out, no, it's a whole flipping squad, okay? Yeah. A whole squad infiltrated Marley.
Remember when I suggested that and you guys were like, you're crazy, Rachel. There weren't other soldiers, because I remember that.
I doubted you. And
you did.
I'm sorry for that. I'll never doubt you again. Whatever crazy theory you come up with, I'll just get on board.
You don't have to. No.
So there's like a whole flipping squad there, which is crazy. Like, guys, get some better security, okay? Like, I know you have walls, but you got to have cameras and guards and whatnot. Like, you can't just...
They don't have electricity, really.
Maybe one of those ring things they could probably, you know...
Oh, you want a ring doorbell?
Yeah.
Get your ring of security.
when the Zeke comes up and is like, hey, I'm trying to invade, you can see him like, no, we don't want any. Go away. I'm
calling the police right now.
Yeah, and he'd be like, "Oh man, back to Marley." So
okay, but seriously, so we noted this too. One of you guys said this while we were watching. Is that all the soldiers, right? So they must have came in on Piek. Well, that's the assumption is that she's their ride.
They brought a boat.
Well, I'm sure they came over on a boat
and then like brought small.
And then had like a little squad go in on Piek because she can stay in Titan form for so long, and probably that's where Zeke was as well. He was with her. So this Titan transforming thing, apparently the 2 times we've seen him do it, he was in human form. He was not in Titan form. But the thing I wanted to note that you guys pointed out was that all the other people there launching the gas had gas masks on.
Yeah.
Now, you would assume that if they're Marleyan or just not Eldian, that they wouldn't need those because they're not going to be vulnerable to this spinal fluid. Now, maybe there's something else toxic about the gas that we don't know.
But it sure looks like those people were probably Eldians.
They were Eldians.
So if they're Eldians, I think you said this.
Yeah, those are probably the people that popped up out of the ground when the scouts all got killed at Shiganshina. I can't talk sometimes.
Yeah, at the end of season 3, or right around there, towards the end of season 3, that big fight.
When you see them all like, poof, it looks like they bloom out of the ground.
Yeah.
Right after he screams.
So maybe they had, other Eldian captive like fighters or soldiers
that were
with
paralyzed,
them.
And then they shouted. He shouted and popped about through the ground.
Yeah. Now this leaves a little bit of room where maybe some explaining needs to get done because like getting through. Well, I don't know. Never mind. I just figured it out in my own head. I was like, how do they exist outside the walls with all the Titans out there? But there wasn't really many Titans out there. All the Titans are closer to the walls. They did say that. Okay. So we find out that the gas specifically says that it makes them lose consciousness and it makes them freeze up, lose consciousness, and lose control of their body. This makes sense. Again, you go back to episode 1, season 4, and you see a plane full of Eldians, and they looked like bizarre, like they weren't really there. They looked drugged up or something like this. So we were like, oh, are they drugged? Is there something wrong with them? I guess this alleviates our fears that these were handicapped people.
Yeah.
We were like,
at least,
oh my gosh.
We can say this. At least when Marley invades other countries that are completely innocent and murders them, they don't do it with handicapped people.
Yeah.
Like that's okay, we'll take it down one notch and how terrible you guys are, but
you're still an 11 as far as how bad you do things, but at least you aren't as bad.
It's like when Hitler invades, at least he doesn't. You're like, come on, bro. Like, that's not.
That might also explain why Connie's mom only partially transformed. She didn't inhale enough stuff, maybe because she was inside the house and not outside.
Right. Yeah, maybe. It seems like there's definitely varying degree, a varying like level of like. There's gradations between how you transform. The injection seems to be the most like surefire. Like you're now, you're potent. You're becoming a full-on pure
They
Titan.
also seem to suggest you can control what size the Titan's going to be by the fluid, because what's his name was like, I'll turn him into a whatever size and throw him off the wall.
Yeah, I forgot that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're discovering a lot, and so the reason I want to bring this up because I was just talking to you guys. May remember Daniel. He's been on some of the early episodes. He comes in once in a while. He's a great guest, don't you think? We should bring him in for another episode. We should bring him in for the last episode of this first half.
That'd be good.
Anyway, I was talking with him today, and we were both mentioning like there's still this mystery around the Titans, like generally. So the lore, like the quote history and stuff that we're getting, is all very like it's kind of like magical, like spiritual. Like okay, Ymir and like this demon. And it's kind of this mysterious, like inexplicable type of thing.
It's almost like legend.
Yeah, it's like the stuff of legend. But in practice, there's a lot of technology and science, or so it seems, involved with the Titans, right? Because like with Hange, right, she's always experimenting on them and commenting on their weight and this whole 9 yards. And then with Eren drinking, like they still haven't explained this, right? Back in season 3, Eren bites that capsule that says armor on it and is able to do the Titan hardening thing. So there's clearly like a technological like element, if not technological, at least a biological element to this, meaning like it doesn't look like it's just magic. It looks like there's something like sciencey, and it's so sciencey that you can take samples of Zeke's spinal fluid and turn it into a gas.
Yeah, it's like in certain shows, they're like, how did that thing happen? And they're like, magic, and you're like, okay, you're bad at writing. We get it.
The power of heart.
Yeah, like just fill in the blanks with magic, and then in some things that are a little more like realistic, right? They're science fiction, but they're heavy on the science.
Right.
They're like, okay, well, this isn't a brand new world. This is the Earth that we know, or as we think know it. So there's still gravity still exists. We don't have to redefine everything. Mm-hmm. Everything still works within the parameters as we believe the Earth works. And the way the way science works is you expect that everything is going to be the same way it is
there's certain like
as it is yesterday.
Laws to the universe type of thing.
There's presuppositions of things are going to be ordered the same way they are, and they're going to be the same way tomorrow. And if that's the case, then I can test something today, and I can test something tomorrow, and I can notate the what's different between yesterday and today.
Right.
And those things
experiment
can teach me about how the world and how the universe works. That's how our science works. But one giant presupposition there is that we expect everything to work the same way as it did yesterday as it is today. And in some movies or shows or fiction, it doesn't. It's just like
Marvel.
there's magic everywhere, and how do we what that doesn't explain anything. All you have
to do is access it.
Right. The world is changing.
Superman.
Yeah. So some of these things don't always make sense. They're not consistent. But Isayama's done a really good job of trying to make things very consistent.
Yeah.
And it makes sense to our scientific, logical brains.
Yeah.
And
it's happening in a fictional world.
It's happening in a fictional world, but it's the same thought process we would have. Okay, there's a spinal fluid. Well, can we break that down? Can we isolate those genomes?
Spinal fluid does X when applied to X.
So all the things that we do in our normal life, we should be able to apply to the Attack on Titan world, and hopefully that would translate. And it seems like it does, which is exciting.
So with that as background, we then get Zeke's line, which is the line that has at least the three of us like confused in some kind of large degree. He says, causes them to lose consciousness and control their bodies. Then I send the power of the Titans to the coordinate via paths.
The path.
And that's why they obeyed my orders. Meaning,
what does that mean?
Like the second part, I understand, right? Because he does literally talk to them like out loud, because he can talk when he's in his Titan form, and he tells them what to do, and they listen to him. Mm-hmm. But I send the power. Okay, is there a translation error here? I don't know if we have any Japanese speakers in the chat currently, or somebody. If somebody could explain this to me, email us beyondthebasementpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, I mean, because we all think Eren is the coordinate, right? So how is he using the power of the coordinate to turn people into Titans?
Yeah.
If he's not the coordinate.
It seems like he uses the same verbiage that the others use when they were looking for the coordinate. But I think when we look back in the other episodes, the coordinate was capitalized C, as in like
it was like a person, maybe
a role,
like
the coordinate.
Coordinate. I figured that the coordinate and the founder were
Pretty
the
much
same.
the same thing.
Or is it that someone with royal blood has the coordinate no matter what Titan they're in?
Can they coordinate to some degree?
Can they use the coordinate no matter what they are because they're royal, and Eren can only use it if he's touching a royal person?
Yeah, when he said the coordinate this time, it wasn't a capital C, it was lowercase c.
Yeah.
And so it seems like what he might have been saying was, give him a little bit of this blood, and then via the paths, I kind of send the paths to this coordinate that I want, this spot that I'm directing it to. But it was the same word, so
yeah, it's so confusing. Besides, what does he mean? I send the power of the Titans. Send it? What?
Send it.
He's sending the power of the Titans to the coordinate through the paths.
Now, the paths part is probably the only part that makes like some sense here, which is that like they explained to us, Eren's dad via the owl explained just at the end of season 3 that the paths, like all Eldians essentially, maybe even all of life, but all Eldians for sure are like connected, and they have this imagery of like the tree. We see it with Ymir when she explains her experience being out in the kind of far reaches of the island as a pure Titan, and there's just like this idea that they're all like connected, and so the coordinate to me would mean like somebody or something at the center of it all, like the like so. The only thing I think we can draw from this for sure, at least at this point, is that Zeke has a much deeper knowledge, I think, of like the quote power of the Titans than we thought, and that he like understands it, can control it, and can manipulate it in ways that we didn't know about. And we'll get into it in a second. But this episode also, unveiled a little bit of his like motivations, I guess. He at least started to tell his quote side of the story.
Yeah, so just before we get into that, Paris says the translation for the manga went something like this. A coordinate is etched. Sorry.
Manga.
Sorry, Pete.
Translation from the manga goes like this. A coordinate is etched into the subject of Ymir that is infected with a spinal fluid. And Minipaul says he has connected to them through his spinal fluid. So there's some sort of etched coordination. The coordinates where all the paths unite.
It's like he's siring them like a vampire.
Yeah, okay, I kind of understand. That makes a little more sense. Because, if they are...
Like someone just said that.
Yeah,
vampire progeny. That's exactly right. Dude, it's such a weird... It's weird, but it does make sense. Like, they are Titans after himself. Like they contain...
Thralls. That's why he can control them.
Yes, they have a piece of him in there, and so he's able to, like...
Interesting. Okay, so look, so far, we've got Titans who are basically giant zombies.
Mm-hmm.
We've got this vampire-like thrall power, and Beast who's basically a werewolf. What else are we going to see right now?
Oh, he's a werewolf who looks like Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Jersey Devils next? Question mark? I don't know.
Are we going to see
I'm still wondering if Eren...
Oh, Jackalope? What'd you say?
Oh, I don't know. I just was wondering if Eren can turn people into Titans too, if he can like figure out how to do that.
Could he harness the power of that coordinate to be able to send the path through the paths?
If he can control Titans, what else can he do?
Can they sample some of his spinal fluid and just accomplish the same thing?
Okay, I was joking for a second.
Can he do the same thing with anyone who has Zeke because they're brothers? Like, I don't know.
I was joking for a second, but I was like, can you send an email via the paths? But what if they can communicate via the paths?
Yeah, what if Zeke and Eren are connected?
But not exactly. What if they can communicate via that, but not just that? What if they can communicate to past people who have had Titan powers?
Mm-hmm. What?
Almost like...
well, he did say, let the memories guide you.
Let the memories guide you.
The future and the past.
What if you could like travel back in time at will when you unlock the full powers of the paths?
What the heck?
Like
Star Wars?
No. Yes.
That's a bad example, but
Avatar, Last Airbender.
Yeah, like that when he can.
Aang can like go.
Spoiler warning,
talk to
everybody.
all the
I don't know.
past avatars.
We're just throwing theories out there.
I didn't watch the entire show, so anyway, that's. I mean, it's pretty convincing. I don't know.
Okay, another thing I want to touch here is Zeke says that when you inhale the gas,
mm-hmm.
you're paralyzed and you can't move for a while or something like that, right?
Right.
And we know that's how.
If that's true, or if that wasn't just something he said.
So we know that some of that is true because those people were sedated when they were the Titan bombs.
That's true.
Is that only because they breathed the gas and didn't drink it,
mm-hmm.
and the wine is something different?
Like delaying it somehow.
Or
that's what I think. I think the wine is it's ingested differently.
Okay. Because the other thing is, Hange says, "Well, wow, Zeke basically like used a lot." We'll get to it later, but like Zeke, she basically says Zeke, used the power of that lie to really like go pretty far with the stuff that's happening to basically get a leg up, so we're all ingesting it, not knowing about it. And she says, we didn't witness it. We just assumed it was true because someone told us that, right?
Oh, so Zeke may have like, you're saying that was the lie. The lie was that they freeze up. Maybe they don't actually freeze up.
Yeah, that's what I was also trying to say, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
because the people on the plane were bound. Remember, they were tied up.
They were. So
they looked like they were drugged,
they
but
were
they
sedated,
didn't move.
but maybe it was something else. My point in that, I'm not sure actually, we don't have enough evidence to really like make a good claim, but my point is that Hange has figured out a mistake has been made. The mistake was she trusted what somebody else told her about this brand new thing we don't know about at words value instead of seeing the evidence for herself.
Yes.
How many times has this happened to us in this show?
Oh, a bunch of times. For somebody says something and you're like, oh, wow, that's how it works. Like, actually, that's not how it works at all.
That's only part of the truth.
What I'm saying is, what do we know about Titans?
Apparently nothing.
What if all of what we've been told is only part of the truth? What if it's like
that's
Pix has said,
yeah.
it's a good lie because you mix the truth in with the lie. We've been told things about Eldia while restorationists. We've been told things about Marley, about how they're all these great conquerors and stuff. We've been told all these things.
Oh, yeah, I think the history's bogus. I've been saying that for forever.
But how much of it is a lie and how much of it is actually true? What if in the end we're going to find out that none of these things are really as they appear to be? Like Hange said about that head, not everything is as it seems. I think there's a lot to that there.
Can I keep hanging on to my theory that the 13 years thing isn't real?
Sure. We haven't witnessed it.
No one's witnessed it. No one's actually seen this thing play out. Okay, now like my assumption is, if it is real, we're gonna find out that somebody had the Marley had control of the attack titan at one time, and whoever had it was like out in battle and they couldn't recover them and they died, and they aged out or whatever, and then the power went to some rando and it turned out that fell into the hands of restorationists. I think that there's a story there, and I could totally see that happening. But I could also see it happening where it's like, nope, turns out the 13 years thing is like a lie, and if anybody's figured it out, Zeke is actually the one who's like, yeah, actually, if you eat another Titan, or like there's either ways to extend it, or it's not real to begin with. You're actually immortal. Welcome to, like we just, that the 13-year thing was a lie to make sure that the powers like no one person contained the power for like too long,
Maybe.
Just throwing it out there. Just theory.
Maybe. This baggie says that the scene with Zeke happens in the same chapter that Pixis says that statement about mixing the truth with lies.
Oh.
So,
Ooh.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Okay, so the next part of this, there's not as much to say about it, but Levi responds to him and is like, it's not just that village, you jerk. Like,
how do you know when Zeke is lying?
When he's talking.
When his mouth is moving. Okay. All right.
So he's like, basically, I don't trust you. You slaughtered all those innocent people. You bearded poo head.
PG.
Keep it PG, kids.
13.
And he
shows no remorse.
Well, here's the thing. I haven't figured Zeke out entirely. There's a reason for this, but he says I didn't want to. And again, he could just be lying. He seems to be good at that.
He said he had to do it to keep his cover, basically. Otherwise, they'd know
Which
that
would suggest
he's
been undercover his whole entire life, pretty much.
So, yeah, perhaps.
Like since he turned in his parents, that was part of his cover.
Now, that's a long shot, but man, if that's true,
that seems to be what he's suggesting.
It does. It does seem to be that. We didn't have any proof of that in the prior episodes, but when he says that, I think that's what he's confirming.
Because remember, I've been calling this theory ludicrous there for a bit, because I was like, not ludicrous because we know he turned, right? When they first showed that Zeke had turned, I was like, okay, well, obviously he's turned, but why, right? What's his motivation? But you're saying, like, has he been that way his whole life, or at least
I wonder
since
if
the
there's
owl?
Something in the manga that tells us if Zeke has been undercover this whole time and they just skipped over it because it wasn't that important.
Or they wanted to keep creating intrigue. He's such a mysterious character. He's the character we know the least amount out of everybody.
And yet he has like the most effect probably in the grand storyline.
Yes.
But what my point is to say that like they painted him so well in the first 3 seasons as like this great villain, as this like great mysterious villain, and I thought, oh yeah, we'll get to know him, get to fight with him later on. Well, it turns out he's on your side. You got some explaining to do, right? Like there's got to be some more some more content there about Zeke specifically. And I suppose if it's there, right, the whole idea is that, Zeke's cover was so good. Zeke's cover was so bulletproof. Really, truly nobody knew that he was a restorationist. And his plan is so, like, I guess I could see
not even
it.
his own parents realized what he was doing.
Right. Anyway, he also mentions, Zeke does, he's like, Levi, I've actually told you about this, when I first landed on the island, why do you keep asking about it? And I actually think that Levi's making a play here as well. He's trying to get him to tell the story over and over to be like,
where's the lie?
Where's the lie? Exactly. What's not true about this? And to catch him if he changes the story at all.
But he also grills him. He's kind of playing like bad detective. He says, you don't have a shred of guilt, and it shows.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, maybe you want to save Eldia, but you don't care about the people at all. Is it worth saving the people to put them into the hands of somebody who does not care about their lives? It's just a deep moral question, you know?
Like, Levi's, okay, it's just dawning on me right now. Levi's actually getting at the heart of the whole thing. He's exactly what you just said. That you're here to say, all right, I'm here to save paradise and create this new Eldian empire, and I want to meet with Eren, and like I want to do good things. I'm here to help you guys. I'm here to do the right things. And I had to do what I had to do because I couldn't blow my cover and blah blah. You're saying all that, and yet you want to save lives, but we've watched you take them. And to me, the
he was
thing,
enjoying it.
yeah, the thing that has gotten me this entire time is the end of season 3. Go back and watch it.
Yeah,
Zeke
his
is taking
perfect game
the perfect game. That's the episode. He takes great pleasure in throwing rocks and just decimating the scouts. He's completely merciless. Remember the scout that he takes the ODM gear off of, and he gives the Titans the go ahead, and they just eat him alive.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have to do that. He
DK.
ruthlessly
He was
did all of it.
alone.
Yeah.
So
Nick probably wasn't with him
Also-
when that happened.
Remember when season 4, when he's actually, we know for a fact he's on the side of the Eldians, excuse me, on the Paradisians, and he comes in, he's throwing rocks, and the plan doesn't quite go as it's supposed to, and he has to throw more rocks than he should, but he throws his rocks and doesn't kill anybody with them.
Mhm.
So we know
He's
he
capable.
can make it look like he's really hurting people, but he can actually miss a bunch, right?
Mhm.
So he's capable of pulling his punches, and he didn't. And he did. Now, was it all just to impress Piek and Reiner?
Don't know.
Bro, we could have done, there's a lot of different ways we could have done that, I think. But
Dang. Dude, the mystery here, though. But anyway, back to Levi's point is that, like, why should we trust you? Like, even if your plan seems legit, like, there's just not enough to go on to trust that you actually have our best interests in mind, that you're a trustworthy person at all, because you're so manipulative. You've lied so many various you've lied to them. We now know that you were a deceiver to, Marley. How do you know you're a deceiver to us? And was it Pixis? Who was it that actually said a few episodes back now, like, his plan, he couldn't take us by force,
Yeah,
and so he's going to take us by diplomacy? Yeah,
Yeah.
Pixis. And so, so that's what I'm hoping for, is that Pixis is the one who kind of pulls out a victory, pulls victory from the joust of defeat in this, first half of the season.
But is he so duplicitous that he's even lying to himself? Like, who is Zeke really? If you've been lying your whole life, what happens when you take the mask off? Is there really anything even there?
Yeah, then he drops the, "Oh, you must not have been popular" line. He's like, "You think you know what people are feeling." And that's a great line, because that's a fair accusation. And, now I have to we have to put Levi in the stand for just a quick second. Is Levi the kind of, like, is there any truth in what Zeke is saying to Levi? Because Levi does seem a little presumptuous at times, right? The thing is he's usually right. The thing is he
He's
usually
very streetwise.
Yes, and he is the kind of guy who doubts everyone. He's very skeptical, and that's kind of why he trusts such a small group of people, and so that's why it's such a big deal. Zeke killed Erwin. Like, how can you ever forgive him? He's like, the one guy you could actually trust was Erwin. Now he's gone.
And to think if Zeke would have combined his intellect with Erwin, they definitely could have came up with a plan to save the world.
Yeah, for sure. And, like, yeah, going back to that fight, even again in season 3, like, Zeke's throwing rocks and killing the scouts and killing Erwin and all them. Like, Piek's there. And who else? He can't take Piek. She doesn't have any fighting powers anyway. He can't just pick her up and eat her, or like feed her to somebody.
Somehow convince her, hey, look, they're humans like us. They want a better world. Let's make peace with them. Let's see if we can save Marley and Eldia.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so I want to kind of keep going through the episode. We could talk about that part for quite a long time. So
so they say they don't have time to spare.
Right.
And Levi agrees with them. Yeah, we don't have a lot of time to spare. I agree with you there. And right when that happens, a scout comes up and gives Levi the word, which we know is him letting know what's happened with the Jeagerists, all that jazz. The scene then moves from the woods to the fancy house, the base, the headquarters of some sort, where the Braus family arrives. Everyone's astounded at the size of the mansion.
Isn't it?
What was that?
Yeah, it's a restaurant.
Yeah.
If it's a big, nice, fancy house, it's also like I'm assuming like level 1 is the restaurant or something.
Yeah. So Nicolo's got his setup there, and everyone's just amazed at the size of the houses. And it's not important, but it's funny. Everyone's there, and Mia and Ben, or Falco and Gabi, are like kind of scared because they're like, oh no, are there military people going to grab us? Is there really a Marley here we can talk to? And everyone assumes that like they've never seen a big house before when they live in cities, you know?
Yeah, they live in actual cities.
And they're like, what's wrong? Oh, you're scared, you bumpkin. And like, it's like it that the country kids are calling the city kids like bumpkins.
You don't know anything.
Even though they're city kids, though, they still lived in very poor conditions.
True.
They were looking up at the chandelier and
they were marveling. That's true. I think they were marveling at. Okay, the surprise to me, I thought with Gabi was specifically they could show her like what was the fact that you keep a Marleyan in here, and this place is nice. This is fancy.
A prison.
This isn't a prison. You keep a Marleyan, like a quote captive Marleyan is a head chef at a restaurant like this. And this is back to the point we keep making with Gabi. It's like, as soon as she got on the airship and we realized she was going back to paradise, I was like, dude, this gal, like, she's gonna figure out that these people are not devils like you think they are. She's really drank the Kool-Aid, and it's gonna take something real strong for her to undrink the Kool-Aid. And this was that episode, I think. We'll find out kind of how she reacts in full, I'm sure, as this first half of the season comes to a close. But yeah, like, I think her looking at the building and being like, oh, whoa, look at how fancy this is. Like, wait a second. Back in Marley, they keep us Eldians in places that are like crap hole. Like, they keep us in like the ghetto. Like, you keep your prisoners here. Like, what? Like, she keeps bringing her one-dimensional worldview into a three-dimensional world. Yeah, and she cannot comprehend it. Right? Yeah, keeps getting her mind blown. So what's her name? Kaya is like, hey, yeah, this is she asked Kaya, does a Marleyan really work here? And she's like, yeah, just chill, go along with the plan. So clearly they've arranged. We know they talked about it 2 episodes ago. Clearly they've like arranged for this whole thing. So. They walk in, they greet Nicolo, he's all smiling and happy, and again, she's like shocked at the whole scene. And so she asks, or they say, oh yeah, we brought the whole gang. Papa Braus, he's like, oh, since it's on the house, we brought...
At first, there's only the 3 of them in the doorway, and then he like slowly brings in all the rest of the kids.
All the kids.
There's like 3, and then there's 2 more, and then here's these other 2.
And then Pete saw this too, that...
Nicolo's like, oh crap.
When they all line up, they're all like... smiling. Yeah, you're gonna feed us, right? Everyone's smiling, almost like a little picture.
Yeah, but they bring all the kids in, and the last 2 to come in are
Falco and Gabi, Ben and Mia. And as they're all kind of in, they look like they're part of the family. And Mrs. Braus even puts her hand on Mia's shoulder,
which she wouldn't let her do before.
Which so maybe she's making some strides. Maybe we'll see.
That's a small one, but I think that's real. Yeah. So they get the dinner thing going. And Gabi asks Kaya, like, Mr. Braus isn't a soldier. Why was he invited? And then she further explains, right, this kind of the story of Sasha kind of comes to light a little further. She says, this family, it was their daughter was the soldier who actually saved me. Again, back in season 2 as well. And Nicolo really liked her, whatever. Like he really liked her food, and they had this kind of connection. And she mentions, I thought that Nicolo and Sasha were in love, which seems right actually. Yeah. By the end of this,
it's hard to say how Sasha felt about him, but it's pretty clear how he felt about her.
Yeah, and they don't do a lot of romance in this show. It's just very like subtle, like kind of small, like off, like sort of side things. And so I can imagine this actually is one of them. That, like, even if it wasn't a 2-way street, at the very least, Nicolo seemed like he really, really loved Sasha. So they start to dig into the food, and again, we kind of note here that whereas before she's like wouldn't even sit down at the table, Gabi like didn't even want to sit down, let alone enter a house and eat and talk with quote the devils. And here she eats ahead of Falco, like she's actually just kind of goes right for it. And
remember how much she loves food, right? Gabi loved food back in the
Liberia
festival.
Yeah, she was eating so much she got sick.
Yeah, and so here now she's like, this is some 5-star food from homie Nicolo, and Gabi. Falco's like crying. He's eating it, and it's reminding me of Connie and Sasha.
Oh dang!
I know.
Dang. Anyway, so they comment on how like delicious the food is, and he's like, "Oh, wait for the main dish." So somebody comes in and tells Nicolo, "You got guests. The scouts are here." And this is where they have this, conversation, and Anya Capone chimes in and is like, "Hey, we're actually here about us volunteers being detained, and we were hoping you could help. The reason I bring that up is because there's a difference between the volunteers and kind of just like the rest of like the Marleyan captives, right? So the way what I mean by that is the way that the authorities on Paradise treat the volunteers is different than the way that they treat the actual like captives. And in a way, at this point with the captives, they're captive, but they get to be head chefs in 5-star restaurants. Like you're here, like we're not gonna let you do anything too crazy, but so far as you can show us that you can be
live
trusted.
A life, basically.
That's true.
Then we'll let you do that. But with the volunteers, it's like, okay, well, they were actually the ones that they trusted at first. They were more forthcoming, and now they're like all detained.
Who
and
can you trust?
Suspicious, yeah.
So she says, Gabi says, Mr. Braus isn't a soldier. Why was he invited here?
Yes.
And they say, oh, it's because his daughter was a soldier, right? His daughter was the one that saved me.
Yeah, they mentioned the graveyard too.
At the
And
graveyard.
she was killed.
Yeah, she was killed. Nicolo went to the graveyard and found this connection with the Braus family. She said, I think they were in love. And as they're eating, we see Nicolo and he's like, oh, wait till they eat the main course. I'm going to cook something up super good, right? And as that happens, somebody comes and says, Nicolo, you've got more visitors. He's like, who is it? I'm in the middle of cooking. Like, this is his passion now. And it's the gang. It's Hange, it's Anya Capone, it's Armin, it's Mikasa, basically.
John and Connie.
Mm-hmm.
But the people
the squad.
we still know, the squad. Yeah, they're still alive.
The OG squad.
And she says, he said, what do you need me for? And Hange
She
says,
actually, her response is weird.
she's like, oh, it's nothing that too important. You can go ahead and serve your
you can get back
guests.
to work. We can talk to you when you're done.
So
Why
a
did
few
she say
questions.
that?
This is exactly the tactic that like detectives use. They don't come as like, you better give us answers. Like, oh yeah, go about your business. We're friendly. We're kind. We'll get to you when we need to.
You think she's trying to be a savvy investigator?
I think Hange's on the case. Hange and Anya Capone. I'm still pitching that buddy cop show.
The buddy cop show.
Where they go and do
buddy cop
investigations.
spinoff, yeah.
You know? Yeah. So he says, you can go ahead and you can leave. You can wait in this fancy room. And we see in the fancy room all these fancy wines.
Yeah, John notices right away. He's like, "Oh, this must be the fancy wine that
this is
the
the one
higher ups
they're all
get."
gossiping about.
This must be reserved for all the MPs. Only the higher ranks, they say, can drink it. And they're like, "Well, we're higher rank scouts now, right? We can
sip some.
We can sip some."
Don't
Nicolo
do it.
sprints over and grabs
out.
it. And he freaks him out. They freak him out, and he says, "This stuff would have been wasted on Eldians." And Jean says like the most straight up double barreled truth you could ever say. He says, "Booze doesn't care about what race you are." Ain't that the truth?
Of all the things said in the show, one lie that is, or one phrase in the show that's not a lie.
Yeah, booze does not care what race you are. Food and booze, it seems like, unites us all. So Nicolo seems to feign his racism back again.
Yeah.
To escape the situation. And you got to wonder,
Why is
how bad are things where your go-to is to pretend that you're racist rather than tell them the truth?
Dang. I mean...
Well, he didn't want to be like, I think that might be poison. Don't
Why
try
not?
that."
Yeah, Nicolo is in he's in the most complicated.
He's like having an identity crisis. Like he doesn't know which side he should be on anymore. He doesn't know which way's up or down, what's right or wrong.
I kind of feel for the guy because he, like I say, he's legit probably in the most this episode, the most complicated situation you could find yourself in. So he's got the grief of having lost Sasha,
who he wasn't even supposed to have
who he
feelings
wasn't,
for.
So
but he truly did.
Yes. So to begin with, he comes, I hate these people. He then kind of comes around, and the reason he comes around is a young girl named Sasha. They may or may not fall in love or have some kind of, he had developed some kind of romantic feelings, and he changes his tune with the Eldians almost entirely because he realizes they're not the devils he thought.
Yeah.
So
a human connection can change a one-dimensional worldview.
It's kind of like what Reiner was going through, except he didn't completely lose his marbles. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing anymore. Like, he even says that later. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore.
Yeah, because the whole way you saw the world is flipped upside down, and you realize there's something other than what you believed.
Yeah.
And this happens time and time again. There's all these stories of, these terrible situations of bigotry or racism of like a guard at a Jewish prison, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the death camps, and you get to know one of the prisoners, and that guard seems to slowly realize the humanity
this
of the
is
situation.
A human person with a soul,
and he wants to help them.
They're
right?
no different than me.
Or even in there's there's a guy who goes to KKK rallies. He's a black guy, and he goes to these rallies, and he doesn't confront them. He like becomes friends with these guys, and guess what? He makes these human connections, and he's convinced a ton of them to like stop being racist.
Dang,
and it's
that's
like,
awesome.
How do you do it, right? You could do it with machine guns, or you can do it with a human connection, and that's how you stop. You show somebody a better way, and that speaks to me. Like that moves me. I want to continue to that legacy.
Yeah, and so like you can see that that's where the dude's heart is, and obviously later on we find out that he's grateful to Sasha. He feels that she's the one who saved him out of the war. Like he kind of was living this tumultuous life to begin with. His world gets flipped upside down. He gets captured. He then kind of realizes that his captors aren't the people he thought. They're actually like kind and decent, and they provide for him, and he starts to like them. He starts to even love them. And then in the midst of that whole process, he's essentially blackmailed or forced into joining this subversion, this effort, this Zeke's plan. Right, by Yelena and the gang or whatever, and like has to do the wine thing, right? And so he loves these people, but he feels forced to betray them yet again. Well, maybe not again, but he's essentially blackmailed into like betraying them, and so he's willing to do it to some that he doesn't know. But it's like he has his real friends. He knows the people he likes, and he'll go to bat for them. So it's like, I like you, but I have to cover my tracks.
Yeah.
And then in the midst of all of, like, as if that weren't like complicated enough for one guy to have to take in a day, he also, in a dark cellar alone, meets the killer of the person like he loved.
It's an interesting point.
And he snaps.
Chrome Cosmo said that Anya Capone in Ghana means the great one or God.
Yeah. One of our YouTube comments was saying something similar.
That's amazing. Good knowledge dropping.
I just had a thought. I'm wondering about way earlier. What's his name? The commander guy in Marley. I can't think of his name right now. Anyway, it's escaping me. But he says something about how Magath, yeah. Marleyans need to actually get involved in this war. And then we find out that Yelena and Anya Capone and all of them were forced to be soldiers. They're not Eldian, but they're forced. They're not Marleyan. So I'm wondering if all of the non-Eldian soldiers are from other countries, like Floch. Or not Floch, I mean Nicolo. Like maybe he was forced to join the military and be in the war, and he really never wanted to be a soldier, and he didn't even maybe he was young when he got put in the military and he never had a chance to become anything else. And that's why when he meets Sasha and realizes he loves to cook, that has such an impact, because he never had the chance to be anything else but a soldier. Even if he's
not from another country, that still could be the case, because when you're young and you're brainwashed, you don't know anything different. And so you get drafted up in the military because you think that's the right thing to do, and all of a sudden you realize there's other options.
It just the way he said it makes it sound like he didn't choose to even be a part of the war.
Yeah, maybe not. Daryl Davis, good. Thank you, Semi-Perpanic. That's the guy who goes and speaks to white supremacists and like talks him down,
and converts him.
Converts him, bro.
Dude, what a freaking hero!
I know.
That's crazy. That's bold. All right, so carrying on here, Nicolo kind of comes away from this. He walks away with the wine bottle. It's like, give me that junk or whatever, and he's all shook. And so he walks down to this wine cellar to kind of like collect himself. And so Gabi and Falco notice this, and Kaya, I think maybe is in on this point as well. She actually tells him good luck, but he's like, he feigns illness. They walk down to the wine cellar, and there's Nicolo, and he's like, oh, the restroom's the other way. They get into this conversation. They just spilled the beans, like full stop. Gabby's like, "Yo, we're warrior candidates. We are on the airship. We came from Marley, but we think there's
a huge offensive.
A huge offensive is coming soon." Which they are correct. That is true.
At this point, Falco starts to realize, we're in trouble. Yeah. But Gabi just keeps plowing through.
He says, "How did you guys get here?" And they say, "Oh, we snuck aboard an airship." And Nicolo starts saying, wait a second.
Well, because you shoot someone.
Yeah, rewind 2 episodes.
That's when Falco's like, oh, crap.
Rewind 2 episodes, I think, now. And it's the episode where he's at the gravesite, and he's all sad, and he's like, how did she die? Remember, he was getting beat up by a couple of MPs, and Connie and John stop the MPs, and they go to talk to him, and he's like, how did she die? And they kind of do that quick cut over thing, and the next scene is him going, wow, 2 kids like snuck aboard a ship or whatever and killed her. Like, it's so crazy, it must be true, basically. It's such a bizarre story, like it has to be true. And so the odds of him running into those 2 in a dark room alone
so crazy.
must be fate.
It's
you know?
crazy. And everyone comes together at the same time. So he says, did you kill anybody? And the look on her face, she says, I've only killed a few, but our real revenge has yet to begin. We won't let those spineless devils get away with it. She's like elated.
She's proud of herself.
That she's going to get some accolades because her whole life she's been rewarded for hatred. But you can't build a personality on hatred.
Yeah. He specifically asked, did you kill anyone? A female soldier. And she says, her first word out of her mouth is, yes. I've only killed a few, but there'll be more.
And that's when Falco's like, Gabi, stop.
Yeah.
And she just she completely ignores him. And he's like, you need to shut up. He's not happy.
Yeah.
She just doesn't even see other human emotions.
Nicolo flies into a rage. Grabs the bottle of
So
wine
it was you.
and goes to smash on Gabi, and Falco takes the hit.
How many times is this boy gonna just do that? Like
save her?
You got to give up on her at some point.
He's not
Falco.
ever going to.
Is Falco?
He's Mikasa.
That's what I was just gonna say.
He's a
is
ride or
Falco the Mikasa for Gabi?
Oh dang, dude, it's true though. It's 100% true.
Yeah, Falco needs a gag for Gabi.
Dude, it's.
He's like Mikasa and Armin in one person.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know in the bar fights, like people can just take bottles to the head, but in real life,
that kills you.
That could kill you via brain trauma, but also that glass normally breaks, and it could cut into your skull pretty good. So, he takes a full on overhand glass, and Nicolo's still got like the broken glass, and I'm like, he's just gonna gut.
I thought he was just like stab her, or at least try.
Sure. I was like,
Nicolo loses it, and as we see Falco like bleeding, Gabi's like, "Oh, Falco, are you okay? You okay?
Wake up, please."
We can see the wine slowly trickle into his mouth,
and like, well, it's like kind of all over him. Like he's bleeding, but it's a mixture of like blood and wine, like kind of like all around. I mean, like
which
you mentioned this.
Yeah, I was saying like even if they rinse out his mouth, it's still in his body.
Yeah,
right.
It's in his blood.
All of a sudden, you can hear some angels singing in the background. Music swells up. There's a shooting star, and finally, Gabi gets knuckles to the face. You know, and it's like,
justice is finally served. Oh man, it's so tough. Like Isayama is like intentionally putting you in the situation where you're like, okay, you shouldn't beat up kids, okay? But if ever there was a kid who probably deserved a punch to the face, it's got to be this one, right? Like,
She already got the crap beat out of her right after she shot Sasha, though. Like, this guy, she's been beat up before.
It's true. And she keeps coming back for more.
Yeah, we don't advocate for hitting kids, even terrible racist kids.
Who've murdered several people.
They need their minds changed, but it's hard not to feel bad for her. It's hard to feel bad for her in this moment.
Yeah, so the wine bottle thing happens, and then the next thing is like he's dragging him into he throws Gabi, bloody face Gabi, into the dining hall, and then he has Falco with him, and he's got a knife with him too. And I'm like, he raging, dude. He raging hard. This is crazy. So
he's full tilted.
Yeah, full tilt, 100%. Assault level, 100%.
That's right. He brings in both of them, throws Gabi on the ground. He's got a butcher's knife in one hand, and he's like lost it. And he says, "This is the child who killed Sasha. She took your daughter's life. She looks like she's innocent, but she's a trained soldier. She shot Sasha."
Dang, dude. And so Armin sees, and that's where he
Armin's like just happens to be walking down the hall at the right moment. He's like, "What's going on in here? Oh my gosh!
Oh, murder and child abuse. Okay,
yeah, maybe I should get help with this.
Hey, you guys, get in here."
So Nicolo hands the knife to Mr. Braus, and he says, "If you don't do it, I will."
Oh my gosh!
Armin and the gang head in, and Nicolo says, "I'm going to avenge Sasha." He sees Gabi now crying over Falco and showing concern for Falco, and he says, "Oh, you cared about him? I cared about somebody too. An Eldian, a spawn of the devil, one who loved my cooking more than anyone, the one who saved me from this war. She taught me that I like making people happy with food. She's the girl you stole from me, Sasha Braus." And when faced with these terrible realities, one-dimensional worldview, racist, Gabi can only go one way. Well, she was bad. She killed people. That justifies all the things I could ever do.
She's like, she killed people I cared about too. She killed people first.
Yeah.
Because she's a kid. That's of course what she's going to say.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
Dang.
Nicolo says, "Who cares who started it?" Papa Braus gets the knife. Now, Papa Braus, like, you could tell that the passions are high.
He's the man of the hour, dude.
Well, he says, "Give me the knife, Nicolo."
Papa
Very
Braus for
calmly.
president, bro.
I think so.
I think Pixis needs to step down.
Yeah.
And Papa Braus and
with his country wisdom.
With his country wisdom is gonna rectify and bring purity and peace to the whole land.
Okay, I gotta point this out because he's about to go into his speech, right? Where he's like the only like correct person, and it was funny because remember I think his last episode we maybe even said this, but I was like, who's there left to trust? Who can I still like? Who can I still root for anymore? I was like, oh, well, pretty much the Braus family, and that's it. Like Papa Braus and then their whole like crew, like they're the only people I can really get behind. And I'm glad I said that because he really goes for it here. He like gives the speech of the hour of like, okay, basically, yeah, she got herself killed, and it's up to us to stop this whole thing. But the reason what I want to bring up here is they made a pretty distinct effort to make the Braus family this like their country bumpkin like family, but they are like, work hard, discipline, morals, live a pure life, love your neighbor. Like they're the salt of the phrase salt of the earth kind of people, right?
Yeah.
Where they're there to like, and here's the thing: is Sasha's dad. We've actually known about him since I think all the way go back to season 1, because Sasha tells us about him, and we get some scenes where he's explaining to Sasha like, all right,
Sasha's being super selfish, and he's explaining to her why it's not okay to be like that.
Why you have to willingly lay your life down for the betterment of your friends.
Yes, well, for the betterment of strangers,
or of people you don't even know.
He says we have to. We're going to give up some of our land for the sake of these people because they're hurting and they're starving. That is the right way. Like that is the right thing to do. And the reason I love this is because that stretches so far back, because season 1 feels like it was so long ago.
Yeah.
But it stretches so far back in memory, both with the show and everything. And Isayama ties this character, like he planted that whole story of Sasha's dad way back in season 1, so that it could come full circle to now, so that it could be the guy. It could be somebody who, before any of these wars had started, before anybody knew anything about Titans, somebody with the right heart, somebody with the right virtue was like, yeah, you know what? Like, we need to sacrifice on behalf of other people. And he's trying to instill that in his kids. Like, somebody with a pure heart has been around for this entire show. And he's a side character. He's not somebody that got noticed. He's not somebody in power. He's not a great warrior. He's none of those things. And yet he's the man with the actual answer to the problem of the whole war and the whole debacle and everything that's been going on. And I love that. Again, this is like, so, obviously we talked about this before, like we're Christians and, I have this like very biblical like worldview. And in the Bible, like this is something Jesus actually teaches on. And you see throughout the scriptures is that oftentimes the person that is closest to God, that is the most right, if they could say it that way. I don't know if that like makes a lot of sense, but like the person who's actually doing it right is not the most outspoken. It's not the most famous. It's not the most, like talented. It's not a big talented musician. It's not a big prominent preacher or speaker or president or leader or somebody who's a really good fighter or like it's a great singer. Like it's usually somebody who's none of those things. It's usually somebody who comes from humility and who has that self-sacrificing, like that self giving up of yourself kind of like heart. And like we finally have that character in the midst of a world that is so violent and so difficult to deal with, and we've got this whole thing with Nicolo happening in front of us, and Gabi, and like there's so much like hatred and kind of gross like stuff happening. But here's this guy that Isayama like teased us with 3 seasons ago, and here he is coming back around to kind of give this like final word. Now, obviously, probably nobody's going to listen to the guy, but I just like I said, I just want to point that out that often like don't look to people. Just generally speaking, this is like it's just some life advice. Do not look to movie stars. Do not look to politicians. Do not look to famous singers, influencers on the internet, people who are out for attention and are places of authority and places of like they're like well, known and respected and want to have influence over people. 9.99 times out of 10, those people are not the people you want to go to. You don't want to model your life after them. Yeah. Because they're really like they're invested in other people's opinions. There's just power corrupts essentially is the idea there. You want to look to somebody who's living a life, a moral life that nobody has to know about. They don't have to advertise it to everybody. They don't got to tell the world, look at all these good things I'm doing. They're not posting on social media, look at what I did for these poor people today, or look at hashtag, whatever cause.
Give
like
to your neighbor.
that is a fake righteousness. It is a false virtue to go and advertise your power or how good you are or how awesome you are in front of other people. Model your life after somebody who takes in orphans. This guy literally takes in orphans and works hard on the farm to instill good values in his kids. There it is.
The thing I love about it is like typical Hollywood would like basically frame Papa Braus as like a terrible idiot.
Yeah, they would make him the bad guy.
They would make him the bad guy. But honestly, the majority of the people that I know that are like this are the people that will help you move, the people that will help you clean up, people that will mourn with you when you've lost somebody. The Papa Brauses of the world, they're the salt of the earth, like you said. And
he doesn't have the intellectual plans. What he has is a simple kind of wisdom and a simple kind of like virtue to be like. And let's just get into it. Like he says. I gotta find his quotes and stuff here. He talks about Sasha. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Nefiria said the kanji used by Nicolo when he said Sasha saved him expresses the very deep meaning of gratefulness, saving a person physically and mentally.
Dang.
I thought that was super cool. You see how it nails it. Well done.
Yeah, Sasha was a redeemer in her own right too. Remember how Kaya talks about Sasha? It's what I'm saying is Papa Braus passed that on.
Yeah. So Papa Braus says, Sasha was a hunter. As a wee girl, she shot varmints. It was just our way of living. I knew one day we'd have to give up our lifestyle out in the forest. She went into the world. She grew up and she shot people. She left our forest, but the world is one great big forest where everyone is just fighting for their lives. Sasha died because she wandered in the forest for too long. We've got to keep these young ones out of the forest. Otherwise, nothing else will basically stop the cycle.
Yeah, nothing can stop it from happening again.
That's why it's up to us adults to shoulder the sins of the past.
And he says, and then that's when Nicolo, or Mama Braus says, Nicolo, let Ben go.
Yeah.
Like, put him down. Like, we end the violence here. Remember, weren't we talking about this forgiveness thing?
Yeah.
Is it last episode?
While he's saying that to Papa Braus hands Lisa the knife and she puts it down on the table and then she says, put Ben down.
Yeah, it's the definition of meekness, like you were saying earlier. Like
he had the power to kill.
He had the power to kill and chose to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
For half a second, I was worried he was going to plunge the knife into his own chest.
I thought so too. I thought he was going to kill himself and be like, let the bloodshed start. Stop with me. But no, he actually picks a better way. But in the hero story, the hero, is typically somebody who has to refuse power and has to be someone who heals over some great wound.
Yeah.
Papa Braus is the hero of the story, and no one can convince me otherwise.
Yeah, seriously.
Right?
He was in the background. You didn't notice him, but he's the actual
This story is actually about him, yeah. Somebody said that they think that Isayama is kind of speaking. Nate the Great, said, this may be reading too much into things, but I feel like Papa Braus' speech is Isayama speaking to his readers about how to break the cycle of hatred we see.
Wow.
I agree.
I mean, I agree too. Yeah. So he gives the speech and it kind of like, eases the tension, relaxes the situation, and or at least a little bit. And they take Falco. The scouts take Falco to take care of him. They kind of apprehend Nicolo, and then Mikasa, funny enough, is the one to go to
check on Gabi.
To Gabi's side. And Mikasa and Armin were the two that were most like, I don't know. Everybody was hurt with Sasha's death, but they were like, they specifically showed them like
dying.
And Papa Braus said, Mia, are you okay?
Yeah.
After he just found out this is the girl that killed his daughter.
Mm-hmm. Making sure that she's okay. She just get punched in the face. Yeah, like that's forgiveness. Like that is okay. Who was talking about this? We were just talking about this. We were at work or something like that. We were talking about the forgiveness thing. I was talking about the story about the Jewish lady.
Oh, yeah.
I think we were at work talking about this. Okay, random. So, one more side note on forgiveness. So there's this cool story. I watched this whole documentary, and I can't remember what it's called. We watched it in one of my college classes. And anyway, there's a Jewish lady. She was in the Holocaust or whatever, was kept in a concentration camp, and she was a twin. And so because of that, she was subject to a bunch of these really horrible, like, genetic tests and medical, like, tests and experiments and all these really horrible things. And so she is eventually freed from the camp, but has like some serious scars and wounds of for herself. And then some years afterwards, not too much longer afterwards, her twin actually dies as a result of the gross stuff that they were doing to her while she was in the concentration camp. And so this lady really went through hell. So eventually she starts this like very small, humble Holocaust like museum thing somewhere here in the States. Actually, I think it was in America where she started it. She moved to the States. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, and then so she starts this little museum, and then somebody comes and burns her museum down, her Holocaust. So this lady's story is just as tragic as it gets. And so one day there's a Holocaust kind of reconciliation thing. It's happened somewhere over in Europe, and like a bunch of this guy is he's one of the people who ran the concentration camp that she was in. He's basically put on this kind of like trial, of sorts, where everybody gets to come in and more or less take a shot at the guy. And this lady comes in and has this whole thing written out, and she forgives him, and she says, I forgive you for what you did to me, for what you did to my sisters, and what you did to my people. And like, it's so moving, and it's so crazy, it's so difficult to watch, but like other people, like other Jews were like mad at her, like, no, like you can't forgive this guy, like you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do it this way. But the thing is that when it comes to bitterness, when it comes to hatred, when somebody offends you, the offense, like, especially if they're not that kind of person, like they probably aren't bothered. They're going to carry on with their life. But so long as you hold on to the bitterness and you don't forgive them, they actually own you. They become your new master. Think of it. It's a real world example, but somebody does something that really like irks you. It really hurts your feelings, and they don't like repent to you, and they don't really care, and they like move on. People hold on to that for years. You can just be like enjoying yourself somewhere, and then it comes to mind the thing that person did, and it's like a bitter pill. It's like something inside of you, and they own you. They like rule you. They have this like hatred has this like power over people. Like I said, they don't even have to be in the same room. They could be on a different continent, but you're still thinking about how they like hurt you and how they did this horrible thing, and you're still like that pain like festers or whatever. And so in this episode, like I said, we get this like the Braus family, mom and dad are like instantly in the forgive Gabi category. These people, they're the only free people in the show right now, right? They're the only people who can actually like live free because of that. Like that's where freedom is actually found, is in offering that forgiveness to other people. So anyway,
and we got to say too that just because there's forgiveness offered doesn't mean justice doesn't get done.
Right.
Just because someone did a horrible crime, we forgive them doesn't mean that there's still not consequences for the crime.
And it doesn't mean you just trust them right away either.
Right.
You have to think like, I'm sure you've seen this before. There's all these tapes of somebody's like kid is killed in like a gang thing or whatever, and they put the murderer on trial, and they usually give the family a chance to say something to the criminal as they're being convicted. And I've seen this a couple of times where they choose to like they choose to forgive them. They're like, I forgive you. Okay, great, but you're still going to jail.
Yeah, or you're still going to get the death penalty.
Yeah, you're still getting the death penalty. You're still getting that, and
there's still justice, but there also can be forgiveness. Yeah. We don't have to have the justice try to be the vengeance that we give out of our own hatred, but we can forgive the person and still do the right thing.
Yeah, like I had somebody in my life, went through a whole lot of stuff with, had to like forgive them. Big long story for another time, but suffice it to say, I was like, okay, I forgive you, and I really did find the freedom in the forgiveness. But that doesn't mean that I have to now trust you. This person was actually a boss of mine, and so I'm not going to go back and work for this person again. I understand they're not the best with money, and there's some reasons. You don't have to. I'm not going to trust him with my life, but I'm going to forgive him and say, you know what, like I'm not going to be beholden to my anger against you, essentially. So, anyway, lots of deep stuff here.
Gabi says, "You really don't hate me." Looking at Papa Braus, he's still checking on it, right? And in this moment, we see Kaya.
Then you hear a scream.
Who has been, she's been pretty tame in her emotions because of what happened to her mom. Mm-hmm. This is the first time we really see a big rise out of her after the Gabi confrontation.
Yeah.
And she pulls the knife and she says, "You're a murderer. I thought you were a friend."
Yeah, Mikasa stops
her. Well, first she's like, "You killed her. I thought you were my friend."
Yeah, she's like screaming, crying.
You killed my hero.
This is where I teared up watching this. Because
and then the whole family like comes around and they all cry and they hold her and and I was just like.
The thing that got me is as they're all crying, Nicolo's being restrained. He says, "Now the food's gone cold." Like that part. That part got me.
The warmth, the family, the friendliness is like, yeah. Oh no! God, so many emotions.
So he also says, "Now the food's gone cold. Hange, rinse out that kid's mouth. It's probably too late." And she says, "What's in the wine?" And he says, "I think it's Zeke's spinal fluid."
Dun dun dun. If there was such a musical clip in this show, that's where it would play.
It was good.
That scene wrecked me.
That's when
a tough scene.
Jean's like, "Is that why you were acting like that? Because you were trying to protect us?" And then he's like, "I don't even know what I'm doing anymore."
So yes, that's why he was doing that. Okay. So it's the famous red wine of Southern Marley.
Yeah.
And we go from this scene to Levi out in the forest.
Yeah, Zeke's reading, and we catch up with Levi and the king. So yeah, they basically just fill him in right here, right? They just say Jeagerists
took over,
take control of everything in the walls. This seems to be part of Zeke's plan. We think the next move is they're going to try and bring Eren to Zeke, just like they've been demanding all along. So he kind of was like, okay, so is Pixis just going along with this? And they explain, well, he's kind of a stubborn guy, and he says this line. He says, he's going to make sure Eren gets eaten by our own hands. We talked about this. I think the he in this sentence is Pixis. So Pixis is trying to make sure that Eren gets eaten by our own hands. I don't know. Can you guys fill me in on this? What does he assume the plan is?
For Pixis to somehow get control of Eren again and have somebody eat him.
We know they have spinal fluid or transformation fluid. They can turn somebody into a pure Titan if they capture Eren, which is impossible now because he's the Warhammer Titan and he can just get out of anything he wants to.
Now, the Warhammer Titan was beaten once before.
Right.
But it was beaten by Eren. So that's the problem. So it can be done. It's not for everybody.
Saying, restraining him and trying to force him to give up his power without him being involved, I think is going to be pretty difficult.
Yeah, no. I don't think anyone's 1v1ing Eren at this point.
Pixis might have a plan in mind, but
even Levi. Maybe Levi and Mikasa
You'd
together.
have to, sedate him somehow or subdue him completely. There's no way he would willingly give it up anymore.
So Levi says, I've trusted and rescued Eren time and time again because I believed he was the hope for humanity. And look at where that belief has taken us. It's all a joke now. All that struggle for a farce like this. It's not even funny. But then he says, there's another one we should have eaten.
Yeah, there's another. Yeah, and I'm not sure who he's talking about.
I think he's talking about Zeke.
We should have eaten him right off the bat or something like that.
Yeah,
there's another one we should have eaten, and then the next clip goes straight to Nicolo's face. I'm not sure if that's what the point is or not.
I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
No, I honestly, I think he hates Zeke and he blames Zeke for everything that's happening, and I think he just thinks that they should have taken Zeke's power.
But can't you understand Levi's point of view right now? Because the brotherhood that was formed between
he and Erwin believed that Eren was the hope.
They think it's Zeke that he's talking about. Yeah,
he's talking about.
That's what we thought too.
But the brotherhood that was formed between Levi and Eren and just kind of all the scouts and stuff in general back when they were fighting Annie, and just how many times they this is why I hate the turning of Eren's character with so little explanation, with so little kind of emotional background, and we just don't know what Eren's thinking. We haven't really seen all that much. Yeah. We've seen a little bit, but nothing that's really compelling. That kind of oh, I guess that makes sense. It stings. I really feel betrayed by this dude because I'm like, man, we rooted for you so hard. You were such an underdog. You were a whiny little brat who really came around, and I was really excited for where his character and stuff is going. And it turns out he's a douchebag. I just this sucks. And the thing is, I don't blame Levi for 1 second. Because he says, I went to bat for this guy over and over. And every time, more and more of my comrades had to die in the process. Because we believed he was the hope of humanity.
Yeah.
Where's that hope
and
now?
For so long, Eren was making bad decisions, but he was doing so believing he was doing what was right for all the scouts inside the walls.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, somewhere along the lines, it seemed like that motivation switched.
He had a zeal to do the right thing, and then his zeal kind of got co-opted or redirected. I know we talked about this in the last episode, this idea that Eren, for most of the time, his goal was, I want to kill all the Titans. I'm not saying this is exactly what happened to the dude, but he did that goal was accomplished. The island is rid of the pure Titans. The thing that killed his mom and all that kind of original motivation, he arrived at that goal. So what's next, right? And that's why I feel like Isayama might leverage that idea that he got what he wanted, but he realized he still he was still unfulfilled, and instead of looking to retire to a peaceful life, he decided to develop. Eren needed an enemy, right? And so he started go look for more. I'm not sure, but at any rate, like I said, I can at least get on board with Levi here.
So then we're back with Nicolo, and he says, I have a suspicion that there's spinal fluid in there. They packed the first fleet to the brim with all of these wine bottles, way more than a normal ship would have had. Mm-hmm. And I was told when I established my position here to only serve it to the high-ranking officers.
Yeah, and it was Yelena who put him up to it.
What a surprise.
She's crafty.
I think he also says that they sent a bunch out with the scouts that are guarding Zeke too, didn't he?
I think so, yeah.
Whether he says or not, it did happen.
He filled their wagon up to the brim.
Yelena is like the patron saint of sketch. Like anywhere like a drug deal is going down, Yelena is there in the shadows. You know,
she's
like just
behind everything.
And behind every weird, gross thing that happens is Yelena, man. She's like a spider.
She's the real conspiracy theorist because she is the conspiracy.
He says, I don't think anybody else knows about it. And everyone like looks at Anya Capone and he's like, no. I didn't know about it. I swear.
Yeah, I swear I didn't know.
But then that's when Hange gets the line. Hey, don't Eldians freeze up, right? When they ingest spinal fluid. And she says, according to Zeke, but nobody witnessed this.
Yeah. He tells them gas gets released. You breathe it in. You freeze up.
So we didn't actually witness that happening, so we had to take somebody's word on it. But
which I think, the more I think about it, why would all of those Titan bomb people have been bound if they couldn't move?
Right. I agree.
Yeah. They definitely look like they were drugged out of their minds, but they could clearly move. They were moving their heads around and their feet and stuff.
I think they definitely could have been gassed, but I don't think the gas has the effect that
he wanted them to think.
Yeah, that he wanted them to think. And again, it's not exactly clear, but it's because Hanji's next line is his such a little lie is having an enormous effect. So I think that is the lie. The lie is when you ingest the spinal fluid, it makes you freeze up. Probably not.
Maybe just when that gas hits, or maybe they mix something with the gas. Maybe it was a nerve agent too.
Sure, it could have been, or the fact that you're ingesting it as a liquid, like with the alcohol, has some different effect on it. Yeah. But I think that what she's saying is no, like it doesn't have an effect. It makes you freeze up. That's not the effect it has at all.
Yeah, maybe
it just isn't there to be.
I think maybe it might make you incapacitated in some sense, and maybe putting it in alcohol has that sense delayed. Maybe I don't know.
She says that lie allowed everyone to drink it. And we don't know who's drank it, basically, you know. And Nicholas is like, I can't prove it, but we Marleyans know that this spinal fluid has been used in the past.
Yeah,
about 10 years ago, we conquered a capital in a single night. And they show these flashbacks of all of a sudden Titans just springing up out of the ground. So maybe they were all underground. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good question because was this capital? I have a feeling we're going to learn more about that. And now that I'm saying this, I feel like whatever capital
it looks like the Taj Mahal.
Yeah,
it's probably maybe it's Anya Capone's home.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I think we're going to see more about this. But he shows all those like lights popping on or whatever, and then like the lightning strikes, and it shows the lightning striking like all over, like a bunch of different people at once. The question is like, okay, if this is a capital that's full of not Eldians, what you couldn't gas them and turn them into freaking pure Titans.
Well, we know Eldians are spread out all over the world, and they're not always oppressed everywhere.
So maybe
my
that's
guess
the
is
thing,
what happened is, remember how that like drinking party happened on the train? Maybe they had one of those, but they slipped all those Eldians a little bit of the Titan fluid. Then they said, hey, we're going to infiltrate the city. We're going to go under the city into the sewers. It's going to be a secret attack. And then Zeke goes, boom, shika, boom, boom. I don't know what he says.
Is that what he says? Yippee-ki-yay.
Yippee-ki-yay. And he's like, hey, you guys. And then all of them spring up through the sewers.
Somebody's got to clip that. Somebody needs to go take that clip of Zeke when he yells on the plane or whatever and just like cut the audio and insert, a bunch of dumb movie quotes.
They did sprout up out of the ground very similarly to how they do in the end of season 3.
I imagine that once we figured all that stuff out, Piak and them had enough time to like dig a trench and bury the people and then cover them up or whatever. So
they were there for. They did make a point to say that they were in Shiganshina for a little while. They had time to kind of like create a plan.
So Nicolo says, "I don't think I can be like you, Papa Braus. Like I don't think I could just forgive somebody who killed somebody so easily. But this can serve as my atonement." And you think he was talking about giving up that secret of the wine?
No, because then he says, "What's wrong with me? I tried to kill a kid."
So
right after
what
that.
can serve as his atonement?
Telling the truth.
About the wine.
The plan. Yeah.
That can serve as atonement.
It's like I was saying before, like think about how complicated of a situation the dude's in, like right here. Like how many different feelings he has. Like it just what a crazy like story. Like I hope they don't. I don't think he deserves to be
I think Nicolo's gonna die.
I mean, I think he will at some point, but I don't want
especially
it to be,
since he just basically prophesied his own death.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Paul says in the manga, it was said that Marley smuggled Eldians into the capital.
That makes more sense. That would make a lot of sense.
I'm pretty sure they smuggled them into onto the island too.
Yeah, so he says, so we flash over then to Gabi, and Gabi's being sat down with Mikasa and with Armin, and she's confused. She's like, why'd you stop the person from killing me? You protected me. And Mikasa's like, because
I have no reason.
I don't have a reason. I'm Mikasa. I'm like a cat, and she gives her one-word answers, and you can never like really get her approval. But if you lay real still,
no reason.
She'll come over and sit next to you.
She's a cat, but an extremely deadly one.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're all pretty. I mean, they got sharp things attached to their hands.
So Gabi says, "Aren't you gonna kill me?" And Armin says, "We don't want to kill you." And she's,
yes, you do.
Yeah, we won't kill you. And she's like, "But you want to, right?" And he's like,
I don't want to kill you.
That's all you think about, is what he says.
Yeah, it's like, kill this, kill that. Killing's all you think about, just like someone else I know.
Speaking
just like
of somebody else.
And then
Eren walks in
with a loaded gun.
Yeah.
Or more like a loaded cannon.
Yeah.
Or maybe a nuke.
I just want to talk. No, you don't. What is wrong with him? Like, what happened?
It's like, hey, guys, with a bazooka on his shoulder. What's up?
By the way,
he just wants to kill everybody now?
Did it kill you guys that as Nicolo was crying, like Papa Braus didn't like break everybody free and go hug him and be like, you're a son to me now, you know, and like adopt him?
I was hoping he would.
Yeah.
He was too busy holding Kaya as she freaked out and lost her mind and crying with her.
So Eren walks in, and then they realize that Floch and
to his chest.
Floch and the Jeagerists are here. They demand that Hange take them to Zeke, and Hange says, "Look, Floch, like we'll go with you. We'll do this together, right? We don't have to fight." And he says, "No, we're not going to negotiate with the military." And she says, "Why?"
So brutal.
And he says,
"It was Eren's decision."
Eren made that decision. He knows Pixis won't let us basically rule the island as we see fit.
Yeah.
And then Nicolo says, like, how did you guys even figure out why we were here? And he calls out one of the other guys in the background.
One of the other, servers.
One of the other Marleyan volunteers.
Become a Jeagerist, obviously. Mm-hmm. And he says something interesting. He says, Nicolo, I know you become too obsessed with the Eldians.
Yeah.
But if you're a Jeagerist,
aren't you helping the Eldians?
You're trying to establish new Eldia, right?
Yeah, I think what he sees in him, I almost wonder if there's a translation thing there too. But I think what he's saying he sees in him is he could kind of tell, like, you gone soft to me, like you're like an emotional one, like you. What I think is actually the what am I trying to say? The underlying text there, in between the lines, is you loved Sasha, you loved an Eldian, you loved an island person, like, and that was more of a big deal to you than like the cause, so to speak. Like, basically, you've gone soft, and like I knew I really couldn't trust you anyway. You're just an emotional guy. You didn't really have, like, I knew I couldn't tell you how to reach out to them. I think meaning the Jeagerists.
Okay, yeah. So he says, Hange says, "Look, Zeke fooled us all, right? The wine, they've been fed to MPs. Like, we're all confused by it. And
mostly the MPs. Why did they ever? I mean, I get why they hate the MPs. They suck. But
yeah, Floch says, yeah, it would make those MPs even more fools. And she's like, wait a second, I didn't say anything about MPs. And you get like the most memeable picture.
Smile.
Floch like turns over his shoulder and is like, oh, really? And he's like full on villain. Like that's the point where I don't think I could take Floch seriously, is when he gave that look and he was like, please use your indoor voices. Thank you. And I'm like, okay, pal, you're a lackey who needs to get.
I know I just said to not look up to people who pat themselves on the back and are like, you know, trying to like be influential and stuff. But I was right about Floch, okay? Way, way, way back. End of season 3.
I concede that. I was like, no, he's dumb. He's going to go away. And you were right. He's the thorn in our side that won't go away.
Yes, he had this like thing, but the person he specifically didn't like was Armin. He was actually most pissed about him. Right, he wasn't happy with Eren. He wasn't happy with Mikasa.
He's a devil worshiper.
Yeah, because he's the one who saved Erwin, and he was the one guy who survived the attack. He's the one guy who survived Zeke's attack.
What if he's been a
and now he's a
this
Jeagerist?
Whole time?
There's no way.
Maybe.
Does it go
I
that deep?
I guess there's a way anyway, but
there's always a way,
his inner dialogue did not reflect that when he was like, why am I alive? He didn't need to talk to anybody. He was the only one. He could have been like, Zeke, we did it, or whatever, right?
Dang.
He didn't. But to be fair, in the YouTube comments, there was somebody who said that, say what you want about Floch, but I kind of respect him. His character has done like a full 180. Before he was kind of a coward and he was always worried about himself. Now he's
really
fully
bold.
devoted to this cause. Like he's
True.
He's full on Flochinator, and he is.
Floch is. Never mind.
He's like, come with me if you want to live, to be a Jeaggerist. So Floch is.
Go to the chopper.
Get to the chopper. Get to Zeke.
Flock of sheep.
So he's definitely had a character change. He seems a little cocky here. I don't like that, but we'll see what happens with this character. He is at least principled and believes in something now.
Yeah, and I think they're using him to kind of show us what the Jaegerist vibe actually is. The fact that they come in and are like, "Yo, we're not even going to negotiate.
We won't negotiate with terrorists."
This tells you
we are the terrorists.
We are the terrorists. But this tells you what kind of organization, I guess you could call it. Because here's the thing: is if the whole point was, listen, you guys are moving too slow. Eren decides to force your hand, gets into things prematurely. We just think you were moving too slow. If that was really the only complaint, then they would have gone along with the submission of Pixis and the negotiation. They would have said, listen, you're right. We move too slow. We're not going to fight you. We're going to take you to Zeke. We just need to make sure this thing gets done safely. We want to make sure it's everyone's best interest. We understand, we don't like the way that you kind of subverted us and went behind our backs to, do this. But we at least, we get it. Basically what I'm saying is, there would have been room for negotiation. Mm-hmm. The fact that he's like, nope, there's no negotiation, and this was Eren's decision. This isn't a group that's yeah, we're looking for the best way forward, and we wanted to move faster than you guys, and so we kind of had to we had to do this. We didn't like it, but we had to do this. It's in everybody's best interest.
They liked it.
That's not the group that this is. The group that this is no, F you. We want to be in control 100%.
Well, I think part of the reason they're not willing to trust the military is because Eren is suspicious of Pixis trying to eat him, which is I think a valid concern.
Well, yeah, that's correct, and I agree with that. And
so he's like, we're not going to cooperate with you guys because you're going to stab us in the back.
Now,
so they could still have good intentions, and they're just not willing to let go of control because they're worried they'll be sabotaged before they complete their mission, and they can't risk that.
I mean, that does make sense. I agree with you. I think that's got to be part of it, but I just think that the way they portray Floch here is he's very...
Floch is a control freak. It needs to die.
Yeah, he's a little sadistic.
I was waiting. Haircut, I was half expecting him to do that thing that they do in anime when he turned around, because he had that sinister
with his haircut and with the way the military garb is and his Luger and the way he puts his hands behind his back. He looks just like a German officer.
He totally
does. He's like a freaking Nazi.
It looks like that, but
okay. I just want to hit on this really quick. Or were you gonna
go ahead?
Comment? Okay, the thing I want to touch on is they said, or Floch says, Pixis is. We know how these guys work. Pixis is. You're kind of hitting on this. Pixis is probably devising a plan to take the founder while we're on the move. That is extremely observant, and I have to admit, that actually sounds like something Eren would do. Mm-hmm. That actually sounds like an Eren decision. He's like, no, I know how Pixis works. I've worked with this guy. He's going to come up with another plan.
He's going to try to get me killed, and I'm not going to trust anybody who's going to try to kill me.
Yeah.
He probably also won't cooperate with Hange for the exact same reason.
Could be.
Right. All right, so the episode ends with Armin, Floch coming up to the door saying, "Hey, let's get moving," But
Eren does the one thing that we've wanted for episodes. He sits down and he says,
"I want to talk to you guys.
I want to talk with you guys," and that is exactly what we want. We want this talk so badly, and all of us gasped out loud when the season ends.
I know he's just holding his hand open, this is a nuclear bomb. And holding it. Let's talk. Gabby's freaking out.
I love how she goes dead silent when the person she hates the most
she's
comes in the room.
I'm going to murder Eren Yeager. And then he's in her presence and she's just do
you want some fries with that, sir?
Oh, crap.
Okay, but don't you think the right move here then is for Armin to cut his hand and be like, touche?
Oh,
it would be. Does he even need to cut his hand?
You really want to do this, boy? Come at me.
Yeah, and Mikasa cuts her own hand. She's like, I don't know what we're doing, but I'll do it because Eren do.
Sorry.
Yes. So
all right. So can we get into our spoiler section?
We're about to get into our spoiler section.
Well, not spoiler. Predictions.
Prediction section. What we want to say is, first off, if you appreciate the show, we would appreciate you guys if you don't mind subscribing to our YouTube channel, following us on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/beyondthebasement, joining us Sunday nights for our live and Friday nights when we can do our game nights, and making sure you're subscribed to our podcast because we're having way too much fun with the live chats. You guys are hilarious and adding some very, very good commentary to the show.
Yeah, it's extremely helpful.
Join the squad. Become one of us.
Yes.
And on top of that,
On top of that, all of that,
all
there's
of that,
more.
There's more. What if?
But wait, there's more.
You require some sort of, I don't know, liquid sustenance, and you have no way of getting that liquid sustenance.
I just scoop it into my mouth, hand.
Yeah,
Savage.
right out of the cow or whatever.
Yeah.
Ew.
But some of us have found a new way to drink Nicolo's delicious wine. There is
AKA Zeke's spinal fluid.
There is a mug that will not mug you, but will leave you not feeling muggy. It is a mug that will make everything taste delicious. Okay.
Okay.
And we've got these cool shirts.
Pete's getting carried away. Okay,
Sorry.
guys.
Look
Check
how
them out,
cool
you
these
guys.
shirts are. They actually, I'm not kidding. They actually are really legit. Whoever designed these, and by whoever, I know who it was. We got a designer through Fiverr, actually.
Yes.
She did a bang up job. Nanographic. I was trying to think of her name. Did an extremely good job. So go check it out. Teespring, was it? Yeah, teespring.com/beyondthebasement, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Or Beyond the Basement Podcast.
Links in our description.
Yep, links down below in the audio, of course, and in the YouTube. Which reminds me, don't forget, go find us on YouTube. Our reaction videos are over there, and some other extra content.
Yeah.
Previous episodes, full episodes, that whole deal.
Also, shout out to the League of Nerdy Gamers on Facebook page. They've been giving us a big heart, so we appreciate all the support, you guys.
We love you guys.
If you like memes and video games and funny stuff, go check them out.
Yes, I do. People have been mentioning on YouTube as well. We should be doing some like collaborations and stuff with other people. I do want to do some of that. So
we're gonna figure it out.
We are figuring it out. So there'll be some of that in the future. Again, YouTube's kind of gonna be the place to be. All right. Oh, and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, Spotify,
Please.
wherever the heck you listen to your podcast. Go
Give
find us.
us all the stars.
If you please, and you don't mind.
That'd be helpful.
Okay, I just want to say my favorite comment of the night was the new basement is Eren's mind.
Yes.
Oh dang, dude! We got to get beyond that basement. Let me tell you right now. I can't handle that one. All right, so prediction section. I have like 12. I'll start with one that seems more relevant.
Zeke sucks. Oh,
That's
sorry.
a good
That's
prediction.
just a fact.
That's less of a prediction, more just like a statement of fact. My hunch, and I know I've kind of already said this one, but now I'm like, oh, it's going down. I'm pretty sure that, that what's going to happen is, it seems obvious to us now, but what's going to happen next is that in the forest where Zeke is, I don't know if it's when Eren and the gang arrive, but at some point, Zeke is going to pull the trigger, do his shout thing, and turn all these soldiers who've drank the wine into pure Titans.
And
I think
literally everyone but Levi is going to change because he doesn't drink.
Well, he's an Ackerman. He can't become pure Titan
that
anyway.
too. But he also wasn't drinking.
He wasn't drinking. There's that. So he is going to be left alone in a forest of giant trees, which is good for him because he probably has ODM gear and stuff, but he's going to be left alone with a bunch of pure Titans. And I think this is how Zeke makes his escape and how he goes to go to do the test rumbling with Eren. There's going to be some connection, obviously, between Eren and the rumbling and Zeke and that whole thing. It's going to go down in this coming episodes. That being the case, so who all has drank the wine? The soldiers guarding Zeke, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
All
They're
the
vulnerable. They're
high-ranking
Eldian.
MPs.
I think Pixis has drank the wine.
100%.
For sure. He's a boozer, dude.
Yeah, but what is he? He's got his own flask. Maybe he's got like
I think
a
he
secret
loves
sake.
all the alcohol. He's probably definitely had it.
Okay, and so
could.
at what range does this stuff work?
That's what I'm wondering. Can he turn everyone who's had it
I don't know. Within earshot.
the walls? Or do they have to hear him scream?
I think that this could happen more than one time where he shouts and turns a bunch of
I think so too.
officers.
I think he could basically use it as a leverage tool. He could say, "Hey, don't come any closer because I know you've drinking the wine, and I will turn you into a pure Titan. Should you guys oppose us?"
Yes. Now the go ahead. What?
It's kind of a different theory. It's along the same lines. So if you got something to,
I was just gonna say with Zeke here. Okay, Eren's motivation was kill the enemies outside the walls, kill the Marlians who put this on us, so on and so forth. Don't you think Zeke should actually be the number one target? Of all the people, like if Eren was going to go beyond hating just the Titans and their existence and the walls and their existence, don't you think his number one person he would hate the most is Zeke?
You would think so.
Because Zeke's the most responsible for it, essentially. He's at the top of the food chain in a way.
I'm wondering, though, if now that Eren is connecting more to the memories and things, if he's also connecting to feelings and maybe feels affection from his father for his son.
All I know is Zeke...
And that is clouding his judgment.
Zeke somehow got in the same room as Eren and talked to him, and Eren didn't take his head off.
yeah.
Or maybe he did. Maybe he tried. Like maybe it'd be nutty.
Something happened.
What if they did have a
Elena
fight?
Yes, if they had a fight we didn't know about. This actually happened in between.
And Zeke like gets through to him.
That would be.
Sometimes I've noticed when dudes punch each other in the face, sometimes they end up being best friends
That's
afterwards,
true.
and I'm so confused by that.
They go to fight, and as soon as they make contact,
He
Eren has the
remembers.
memories.
He remembers everything.
Oh.
Dang, that could totally
And-
be it.
Yeah.
I still wonder if the memories also come with feelings too. I don't know why they wouldn't.
It seems like it. I think they do.
Yeah.
All right, what was your other thing?
Okay. So, okay. Here's what I think is going to happen. Loose predictions here. We'll see what happens. But the next episode's called Savagery. So we think, finally, after all of this, the action's going to start to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we think that Levi just found out that Eren is possibly on his way.
Done his own coup
Has done his own coup.
again.
And I think he's going to be like, well, we're not going to wait for him to get here. Let's turn on...
Let's move.
Let's turn on Zeke or let's move. And Zeke's going to say, I don't think that's not going to happen.
That's not a wise idea.
And he's going to say, shut up and let's go. He's like, maybe we could get physical. And Zeke's going to say, oh yeah, well, boom, turns everybody Titans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he basically runs Levi off and gets away. And Levi is either barely left alive or is able to get out, but is not able to really chase them safely. And the rest of the Jeagerists basically like show up. As that's happening, as Levi gets away, the rest of the Jeagerists show up. The remaining Marleyan warriors appear in their Titan shifter forms, and they're about to fight. And right when that happens, Zeke and Eren see each other, touch each other, and do the rumbling with all the people and wipe out the Marleyan warriors, or use it to go somewhere else. I'm not sure.
They want to test the rumbling. We know this for sure.
I kind of forgot about the fact that Piek and them are probably all there right now.
We know
because we know they're going to attack
there.
at some point, right?
I'm wondering if it's just her, Galliard, and Reiner, or if they also brought a force of soldiers with them on a ship.
Chrome Cosmo, that's actually a good point. He says, I don't think action happens until episode 15. Next episode's probably mainly dialogue between Armin, Mikasa, and Eren. You're right.
Yeah,
there has to be that dialogue
they're
first.
going to explain. I think there's going to be action in the woods happening at the same time that they're having their conversation.
And it's going to highlight.
I think they're going to jump back and
Wait,
forth.
who's going to have a conversation with who?
Well, Eren,
Mikasa, and Armin are going to be having their conversation.
I totally forgot
and
they
he's going
have
to
to
be
get into the
explaining what happened to him and how he got to this point.
Yeah, I really hope
and
that's
then the
it.
last 5 minutes, they're going to flash back over to the forest, and everything's going to go sideways.
Okay.
And then we're going to be left hanging for another
So the
week.
next episode is Eren kind of explaining.
I'm pretty
his
sure
piece.
in the last 5 minutes, what Pete said is going to happen.
So
Levi's going to be like, we're moving you, Zeke. And Zeke's going to be like, no, you're not. Blah. I'm going to get my Titan ride out of here, and you're going to be left behind.
Remember, he can control these Titans. He can tell them what to do.
He's gonna.
Okay, what do you think becomes of Falco and Gabi here? That's a big question mark for me. I'm not 100% sure.
I'm halfway wondering if Falco is going to if he's even going to make it.
No, he's going to make it.
He
remember,
will.
He has the wine in his mouth. So I think
he's going to get a Titan power.
I think
for
his
sure.
human body. I mean, he sustained a very bad head injury. Is he ever going to wake up again? And then maybe he's going to get turned into a pure Titan and eat Reiner.
I think Reiner's going to find out.
Because Reiner and Eren are going to fight again.
They are
100%.
I mean, it was in the trailer.
They're going to fight near headquarters because that building that we see in the background, I'm pretty sure is the headquarters building.
Okay.
So I think they're fighting right in front of headquarters.
So Eren doesn't leave yet.
No.
He's
He's
about to
gonna
leave.
go Titan.
And that's when Reiner and Piek and
He's already ready to go. He's got his wound on his hand.
show up.
Yep.
And they besiege.
You think
I think-
Porco, Piek, and Reiner show up at HQ?
I do.
Not out in the woods? And that's you know what? Here's the thing: is
That
that actually
could
makes
be.
the most sense.
Yeah, but I wouldn't do that. I would wait till they
We
leave.
saw Pick in the city near HQ already.
We did.
So I think that's where they're going to show up.
I think Martyr's right. Reiner's going to sacrifice himself to save Falco.
I
He's gonna
think so
realize that
too.
Falco
I think
is-
Falco's dying and he's going to change.
Okay.
They're going to change him to save him.
It's possible.
I think Falco. Yeah, I agree with that. I
He
think
has.
Falco.
I mean, gosh, his whole back of his head is bleeding, and it's not going to stop.
I wonder if Falco gets Reiner's. Yeah. Dang,
In
it's
order to
kid-
save his life, they give him the Titan injection.
I think
and Reiner
so.
says, carry on, my wayward son.
Something along
gets
those
eaten,
lines,
and then Falco becomes like the... That wouldn't be too bad. I'm trying to think of a way that Reiner
The
can
only
like
way
go
that
out.
I would be okay with Falco turning into a Titan now is if it was the only way to save his life, kind of like Armin. Because
I think it's going to happen. I just think he's too central of a character. And the thing is, they started this season out with him having the future memories same way that Eren started. I think that I'd said this originally, and I'm not as confident in it now, but it just was like a conjecture that Falco is the new Eren. Like he's
or
actually
I was
the
going to
new...
say, or somehow Eren is going to know how to magically give Falco one of his Titans.
Or is Gabi the new Eren?
I don't think so.
I think it's
Falco.
Such similar childhood upbringings.
Right, but the thing that's why she can't be trusted. She's somebody who doesn't have the ambitions. I think Falco and Armin are kind of the key to solving this thing.
Okay.
I wouldn't even put Hange up there. I think it really actually. I think ultimately, when it comes down to like making peace and like solving the issue, the whole thing of the Titans, I think it's Armin's intellect and I think it's Falco's heart. And I think between the two of them, like they're the ones that actually end up being like the key, like the saviors, to like actually save the world.
Falco has the both sides view that could really unite everybody.
Yeah, he's a peacemaker, and I think especially if Falco gets in the same room as Armin, which he currently is, right? He's in there because it's Armin, Eren, Gabi, Falco. I just think that like, could he have if he ever gets a chance to sit down, like him and Armin can like talk. I think there's like something happens there, and especially if it's after. Falco's acquired a Titan power. Now he's kind of got some more like sway. He actually has something he can like accomplish, some power to him.
So Armin has the Colossal Titan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Falco gets the Armored Titan.
I don't know which one
get
he is.
Annie. They get Annie with the female Titan on their side, right?
Oh, that's maybe my next prediction. But yeah, keep going.
Okay, and then they're all in the same room. They're like, "How can we work it out?" They're figuring out. Okay, Armin, your intellect. Falco, you're coming together, and they say, there's only one way we can do this. We elect Papa Braus, the leader of the free world. Papa Braus leads the troops into freedom and peace.
Okay.
I mean, that would be great, but I don't think.
Yeah. I got to get into this prediction.
Papa Braus, founding Titan? Oh, man.
Oh, actually, he'd be the only one I would trust with all that. Okay, here's my other prediction. This is a little unrelated, but related. Okay, what I think happens is... there's a big fight on the island. And we now know that most of the island, most of Paradise is probably on the side of the Jeagerists. It seems obvious. They've taken most of the people...
It seems like they took over the headquarters.
If they've taken over everything
Jaegers have control.
Walls.
They have control of everything anyway. So if that's the case, I do believe... I don't know if Mikasa's in this group, but I think that there is a remnant, and that remnant is... hopefully, if Pixis doesn't die in this whole spiel of things, the remnant consists of Armin... maybe Falco or some one of those other groups, but it's going to be for sure. It's going to be Armin. I think it's going to be Nile. I think it's going to be Mikasa, Connie, Hange, Jean. Like kind of like the sort of like they're now the minority again all of a sudden after all this time. I think that little minority group has to make an escape. I think that they don't really have another option. The rumbling's going to go down. This season ends. My prediction is this not the season, but this half of the season ends with, the rumbling begins. I think that's like the very last thing we see is like the rumbling like actually starts, and then that's the cliffhanger. Is that the rumbling is like just begun?
I think that's very possible.
And that as that is happening, that this little band is making their escape either away from the island to Hizuru. I think that would be the one place they could find safety, is they could actually get there.
Because she did say, if anything goes wrong, come to my ship.
Come to my ship. So I think Mikasa leads like the small band that's like still alive.
I know where we could go.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And they have to get away. And so the thing is
that's a good theory.
The way that they get away, I think, is the boat that she brought. Remember she brought that specialized airplane boat thing or whatever? Yeah. We haven't seen that yet. So
to observe the
rumbling, that was the whole pitch, right? They wanted to see it from the air.
It's the Batmobile.
So I think that little ship thing comes into play. So either they make an escape there to Hizuru, and it's that ship has something to do with it, or because this is my other this has to figure in somewhere. I'm pretty confident Armin, maybe in his conversation with Falco, I'm not sure, but Armin will figure out the Annie situation. He's gonna figure out how to get Annie onto their side. I'm almost positive that's gonna be the case, and I think that it has to do with her dad. Seems pretty clear. So he's got to find her dad and bring her dad to him.
Is he even alive anymore?
Or they escape the island with Annie's crystal, because I don't think hardly anybody knows where that thing is. Yeah. I think probably some of the only people who know are Hitch.
Hitch
probably escapes with them. Like I think she's part of the not Jaegerist group as well. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I think Eren and Zeke would overlook it. They're like, oh, we don't need the female Titan. We've got the rumbling Titan power right here. And so they would probably not worry about it. Whereas the rest of them were like, we'll take all the power we can get.
Right.
And we don't really know why, but they have said the female Titan is one of the most powerful Titans.
It's just she's versatile, is what they said in the episode 2 of the season. Anyway.
Yeah, Armin and Annie have to get married. So here's my prediction. Pete's overly optimistic, ridiculous prediction.
Let's hear it.
Is when all of the Titan powers get combined, Ymir gets summoned, comes down. Maybe they use all the hardening stuff. Everybody gets hardened up and frozen, and then there's like a anti-Ymir that shows up that's actually good and resurrects all of the fallen characters that have died. And Hange,
you said overly optimistic. I didn't know it was gonna be this optimistic.
I mean, it's fairy tale. We're talking fairy tale here, okay? So
Erwin comes back.
Erwin comes down with wings.
Marco
rides on a white stallion.
Mike
can smell all of the delicious cooking that Nicolo's doing, and when him and Sasha have a little farm in the backside where they make delicious food for all of the travelers who stop by. Okay? That's going to happen, you guys.
Lord Cornelius? Who was that?
I don't know what's happening. Okay, so my question is, I have a couple questions about this whole bringing Annie's dad theory. Like, I'm not real sold on that for a couple of reasons. They don't even know who he is.
They don't know who Annie's dad is?
Like
Falco and
but
Mia
do they?
Falco and
yeah, they
do.
They
Okay,
actually
they
do.
do.
They actually do because they were probably even seated near them in Liberia.
Okay, so that's possible then. But also, is he even alive? Because he was in the front row where all the stuff exploded.
I'm going to say yes.
I don't know, man. A lot of people got crushed by flying debris.
Whatever it means telling you to write that fan fiction.
Yes. Yes, I'm going to sell 1 million copies of the way it actually ends.
You're going to do how it should have ended, but it's just here.
I'm wondering if in this conversation, I mean, I know everybody's saying Mikasa would never turn against Eren ever. But I think that her and Eren are going to have a difference of opinion, and she's not going to support him.
You think Mikasa will actually turn on Eren?
I don't know if she'll turn on him in her mind. I don't think she's going to think of it as turning on him.
Yeah, I think that's the key.
I think she's going to be like, whoever this person is not the real
Eren.
you, and I'm not going to help you.
Yeah.
Because you're not my Eren.
Because killing you is saving my real Eren.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's going to become his enemy because he's departed from who he really is so far that she's going to try to get him back to himself, and I don't know if she's going to succeed or not. But
yeah.
Whatever this plan is that he has come up with, Zeke, I don't think she's going to go for it.
I guess I would be okay if we wait a couple more episodes before we get the action, but dang it, I want the action. I also want to hear what Eren's plan is and what Zeke's plan is and kind of how they come together.
they're going to be great.
I'm on board for that.
Yeah, no, Eren's plan, I'm loving it already. I haven't even heard it, and I know it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Zeke really didn't do anything wrong, so... Yeah.
Okay, so anyway.
Give your hearts.
Give
I don't think I
hearts.
told you my other reason why I'm not so sure Annie's dad is still around is because remember he didn't have one of his legs didn't work so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
I don't know, man.
Okay, well they gotta settle. They gotta get Annie out of the crystal.
He's still alive. I do. I hope so.
Maybe they find out about his death and then she has to come out of the crystal to mourn. I don't know. I'm saying is her coming out of the crystal has to do with her dad.
The Jeagerists are coming out in the chat now.
Yeah, dude. Let's go. Give your hearts, guys.
It's Gabi Gang, Jeagerists, and then Floch's Floch. You know,
Floch's Floch. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. Hey, can I get some like smile emojis or something in the chat for Floch?
Okay, I still hate him. I'm
some
not going
creepy
to change my mind.
I'm conflicted. Yeah, some like.
No,
use your inside voices.
He freaking sucks.
He sounded like the Joker there when he said what he said.
He's a horrible person.
What was it? What's the guy's name in the Malk skit? He's like something. Use inside voices, please.
Yeah, sorry, Dad. My wife.
Darnell. What was his name in the skit? I can't remember what his name was in the skit. Jamal.
Yeah.
Jamal. Inside voices, please. Sorry, Dad. My wife friends. Immediately go back to yelling. Okay. All right. We got to end this one. All right. We love you guys. Y'all are freaking awesome. Thanks for hanging out with us again for another legit episode. We'll be back. I think, should we try and do Saturdays? That's not going to happen for game night. No game night this week?
We will announce it on our Twitch.
All right. Keep an eye on Twitch, YouTube,
we may
all
or
that
may
stuff.
not do a game night this week.
Well,
we don't know.
In the future, we'll be doing game nights. Join us there. Don't forget to email us all of your theories and corrections, which we do, in fact, welcome, especially if you speak Japanese and know the stuff, or manga readers and so on. beyondthebasementpodcast@gmail.com. That's where you can find us. Subscribe to YouTube and do all the other stuff. We love you. We'll see you in the next episode next week, 5 o'clock, right here live on Twitch.
Hello.
Hey guys, thanks again for watching and listening to our show, Beyond the Basement Podcast. If y'all are enjoying it, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or wherever else you listen to our show. Check out the description below for links to our awesome Attack on Titan merchandise. And join us live on Sunday nights on Facebook for all of Season 4. And some of our best content is on YouTube, including me, so go ahead and check that out. And lastly, if you guys have any questions or just want to chat with us, please email us at beyondthebasementpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you guys in the next video.